That way he doesn't have to kind of wait for us.
Yeah.
All right. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
I do this damn tweeting. It drives me crazy. I don't have to do it, but my boss is like, "Oh, we need you to tweet," and even when I'm not there, he just wants me to react to a tweet.
That's right.
The tweeting.
The tweeting.
The tweeting.
I'd be kind of curious to know about all that tweeting stuff. Okay.
All right. Yeah.
Welcome. You're listening to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, Bruce McGowan, longtime sports radio personality. Now, on today's show, we're going to have someone we've had on before, aren't we?
Yeah, we are going to have a sports front office executive, former front office executive with the A's, the 49ers. He was with the Warriors for a while, the Memphis Grizzlies. Andy Dolich, who's really a marketing whiz, is going to join us.
So, baseball, football, and basketball.
Basketball. And he even did some soccer. I think he worked with the Washington, whatever they were, in the old soccer league before.
It's funny. I don't know if we've ever asked him when we've had him on.
We should talk about that.
Like
that would be
what's
interesting.
What's the difference between being on one sport versus another?
Yeah. And in terms of his job and just what he's doing, yeah, it's good. It's a good point. That'd be something I'm sure he'd give you a lot of information about.
All right. And today's trivia theme is baseball and. Hopefully,
baseball?
Highball. Hopefully, let's see.
Who said it that way anyway? Baseball. Was that Mel Allen?
Mel Allen, yeah.
Mel Allen.
Baseball. With this week.
This week on baseball, yeah.
Yes.
We always say that. Probably drives our listeners nuts. Of course, most of our listeners are east of the Missouri, so they don't mind too much.
No.
This is California. They would go, jeez, come on, guys.
Come on, guys. Yeah, well, we talk about the Giants a lot.
We do. Well, we were educating people back east about our West Coast teams. That's what we're doing. We're providing a service.
Which is good when we're talking about the Warriors, but the Giants are really
Don't talk about
not doing too well.
No. And Santiago Casilla gave up back-to-back homers and lost. They were up 2-0. First home run by Justin Smoke ties it. Next pitch to Kendrys Morales hit the same spot of the ballpark, literally. Game over.
I wonder if some of the guys on the team are kind of going, I'm not the only scapegoat here, because everyone's doing lousy.
Oh, yeah.
All right. This segment of Sports Econ 101 is sponsored by Pacific Private Money, providing mortgage investments that are still currently yielding over 7.5% secured by real estate. Doesn't get much more conservative than that. You got to check them out at pacificprivatemoney.com. And don't touch that dial. When we come back, we're going to have our guest, Andy Dolich, on the phone. There you are, listening to Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back. All right.
That's what I'm talking about.
Let's save this.
I'll send him a text. Sometimes he doesn't answer his phone, so I'll send him a text here real quick. There he is. What's going on, Andy? It's Bruce and Edward.
How are ya?
Hey, Edward, Bruce. What's going on? Nothing in the Bay Area. No football, no movement, no new buildings, no new overpriced players, no new... it's all pretty boring.
Yeah, that's all right. We like boring.
All right, if you're ready, Andy, we know you're on a tight schedule, so we're going to get right into it. Okay, here we go.
Ready to roll.
Okay. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. Bruce, who do we have on the phone?
Our good friend Andy Dolich is joining us, and Andy, of course, has worked for many, many years in the front offices of various sports teams. And Edward and I were pondering this question. I thought it'd be kind of a neat thing to start off with, Andy, is what is the difference in your line of work? How much difference is there really between, what you do when you're working with a baseball, a football, basketball team, outside of the obvious? The seasons are different, the athletes are a little different, but in terms of the actual work that you do, is there that much of a difference, or can people like yourself move from team to team and lead the league without any problem?
Well, as I've said to a number of classes that I taught, and I just finished one last night at Stanford in sports careers, I'm the poster child that you don't have to be very bright to work as a professional sports team.
I like a humble guy.
And so people have very MVP of X, Y, or Z. And what I learned early on, and I don't think it's changed even with the sophistication of all the sports in metrics and analytics, is if you can generate revenue, because that hasn't changed. If you can generate revenue, then the runway that you have to grow and have positions is available to you in all the sports. If you decide to become the great expert on the quantitative nature of basketball players in Eastern Europe, your opportunity, not that that isn't, a real job, and not that there aren't experts in that, but you think about the help wanted sign for that type of job, there's not a lot of places that are posting it.
Yeah.
If it sells season tickets for a pro sports team or a major college, bingo, 20, 30, 40, even 50. The 76ers have 100 people. It's not a misprint or a misstatement. 100 people selling season tickets for them.
Wow.
They probably need 100.
Yeah, that's interesting too, because you mentioned the 76ers, and I just harkened back. I believe, didn't your career start with the 76ers right out of graduate school or college?
I smiled yesterday because I do a fair amount of mentoring, and I'll talk to anybody, anytime, anywhere that wants to get a realistic view of what we're talking about, careers in sports. Because, Edward and Bruce, isn't it glamorous to be in the broadcasting business?
Yeah, especially
you
today.
Your own private jet, you work
That's right.
hours a day. 4 houses, 2 in North America, the 2 others you're not allowed to talk about.
Can't talk about those.
And you make 7 or 8 figure salaries. Like, maybe.
Wait a minute, 7 or 8 figures? Hey, I'm not taking a pay cut for anybody.
So, when you cut through the BS and get to the glamour, there isn't much. Now, that's not to say it isn't the greatest place in the world, and there aren't many incredible people that would get to work in this every day. But I try to cut through the white noise and get to the fact it's a job. You're working when other people are recreating or sitting in the seats that you've sold, or the promotions that you've done, or the stadiums and arenas that you built. So, simple answer to a long answer, Bruce, is that if you can generate revenue, you can do it pretty much in any of the sports. Stick and ball, water, doesn't matter. But if you choose that you are going to be the leading expert on something that is more player personnel driven, that's a much harder road to navigate.
Yeah. I was just curious, we mentioned the 76ers, and not to get off on a tangent about that, and maybe I've asked you this question before. You weren't with them in 1981, were you? You were there in the 70s.
So I essentially, and I was going to tell you this when I drove off the wrong exit ramp in the middle of my answer, but I was there from 71 to 74. And in 72, 73, and for those that are listening, that's in 1900s, not the 80s.
Yeah.
Institutional knowledge. Like, I've been a Warrior fan for 2 championships, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember Ryan Lordridge. So I was there when we were 9 and 73, and I asked Rick Welch about a week after the Warriors went 73 and 9, and Rick and I have known each other for a long time, the president of the Warriors. I said, Rick, what do you think's harder, 9 and 73 or 73 and 9? And of course he laughed, and he goes, "You got to be kidding me!" And I said, "No, I think 9 and 73." And ironically, guys, both records are records. 73 and 9 is a record, and 9 and 73 from 72, 73 is the worst record ever in 82 games.
Wow. I have to agree with you, though, Andy. I think it is tougher to lose 73 games out of 82 than it is to. I mean, it's tough enough to win 73.
Which is
Just,
harder to
well,
actually do.
you just have to have a lot of bad luck. You have to play badly, but you have to have some bad luck. A lot of it.
You cannot do it today just because of the gap between top and bottom.
Yeah.
When I was in the league, hard to believe it, there was only 17 teams, and I don't know how you get an uneven number, but there were. So, you could just plug in the Celtics, the Knicks, the Bulls, and others go loss. Now there's enough sort of teams are not playing well, and that's not to take anything away.
Well, it's like if you go back to the old baseball with the Cincinnati Redlegs when they went barnstorming across the country, they were like 150-0.
Yeah, they didn't lose a single game.
Yeah,
but of course they were playing town teams, and these guys were all professionals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is kind of the point that Andy's making. When there's only 17 teams,
yeah,
you can really get that spread out.
Oh, no question. I'm curious, Andy. Did you travel much with the Sixers that year, or were you just strictly doing you were on the home base?
I traveled because I've actually written a book which had an agent at one time, and the working title is called Hoops 80, HADES, and it's my observations of the worst team in the history of the NBA, and I keep talking about getting back to it, and there's so many people that have written the next great book, yeah, I traveled. We played 4 games in Hershey and 4 games in Pittsburgh so that we could deodorize the stench that we had in Philadelphia.
I love that.
I can just
That's a
imagine
good way of putting it.
being the point guard and just kind of strutting my stuff, saying, "Man, I was on the worst team." Hey, it's hard to do that. It's like being in school.
He was our best. I mean, we had a guy named Freddie Mad Dog Carter who had a good career in the NBA and then became a broadcaster. And Fred Carter, who I actually sat on the bench at American University, he was from tiny Mount St. Mary's. Mount St. Mary's.
Oh, yeah.
Mount St. Mary's,
yeah.
Maryland.
Yeah.
And his nickname was Doggy. And here's a bit of trivia, guys. I believe that he invented the fist pump.
Really?
The fist pump.
Oh, really?
Fist pump.
Not the fist bump, but the fist pump.
Right. And also, he's the only player I've ever seen, true story, smoke a cigarette during an NBA game on the bench.
I love it. I remember that famous picture
with the towel over his head.
With the towel over his head.
Now all the other players do it. But we traveled around. The NBA as a league wasn't the sort of global entity that it was today. Although there were stars, there were great players. But the Sixers at that time were more a ragtag traveling band. Leroy Ellis, Don Q, Trapp, Reggie Boyd, Mad Dog Carter.
So you remember them all?
Kimball, Kobe Kimball, Dale Schluter, Donnie May.
Dale Schluter, man. There's a
were we bad?
Yeah.
It was the greatest. To me, it started my career.
Well, but they were memorable. That's the important thing. Hey, Andy, stay with us. We got to cut to a break. All right, we're going to talk baseball here. Here's our trivia question. And again, Andy, if you know the answer, don't give it yet. Who said there are 3 types of baseball players? Those who make it happen, those who watch it happen, and those who wonder what happened. Okay, so that's our trivia question. Email Edward at sportsecon101.com the answer to that question. By the way, like when my dad, I told him I wasn't doing well in school, I just kind of strutted myself and said, "Hey, they don't give D's to just anyone, All right, don't touch that dial. Sports Econ 101. I'll be right back.
Very good. So you got to get out of here by 12:10, right, Andy?
12:15.
Oh, perfect. We'll be able to.
We'll get.
We'll be able to get you in for the whole show. Yeah.
He's a man of my academic background.
Yes,
there we go.
That's I always say my thing at hey, 6 years of high school, No.
Yeah, it's like my parents. Like I have 2 older brothers, both still alive. One became a chemist, the other a surgeon. And when I told my parents, like when I left the concept of going to law school because I couldn't get in, like, well, what are you going to do now, Nedwith? And I go, like, I think sport. My parents were not sports people, and they went, you can't play. What are you going to do?
That's funny. God, I just saw something. The Washington Nationals today hit 8 home runs.
Really?
That's a club record. That's not the all-time record. 9 is the all-time record. Can you believe that, Andy?
Who has that?
I don't know. It just says I've got a little thing here. It popped up on my screen.
8 home runs.
8 home runs. And they're still playing. They're still playing,
apparently.
The game's not over.
Like Don Drysdale and Sandy Koufax question, like, hey, Sandy pitched a 1-hitter today, and Drysdale would say, did we win?
Yeah.
So, the Nationals are the Nationals?
Hey, sweetie, I'm right in the middle of doing a radio show.
That's funny.
Yeah, what's up? Everything okay? All right.
Let me do this here. Okay. All right. And away we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown here, along with Bruce McGowan. Here's our first trivia question. Who said there are three types of baseball players? Those who make it happen, those who watch it happen, and those who wonder what happened?
I'm guessing, I don't know if Andy knows, I'm guessing it's some sort of self-styled philosopher, a guy like Branch Rickey maybe, or some writer.
No, it was a manager.
Okay. Oh, you have any ideas there, Andy? Want to venture a guess?
Well, it's not my favorite Billy Martin. He would have just socked somebody and said, make it happen. I'll go with Earl Weaver.
No, but you're close in your portliness.
Tommy Lasorda?
Yes, Tommy Lasorda.
There you go. Tommy was always good for the motivational talks. You know, when he was motivated, he's still around.
And then he dove into a plate of pasta.
Of course.
And didn't he do those like Weight Watcher type of?
Oh yeah, he tried. It was so funny though. If they lose a game, I'll never forget this. Anytime you go in that clubhouse, if they lose a game, he'd be totally engrossed in his plate of pasta, and he'd be, answering your questions with monosyllabic. Oh, yeah, that's true. As he was.
McGregor and Mayweather seem like choir boys.
Oh yeah. No, some of the stuff he would. Oh man, a lot of it was.
He gave the closest complete deep press conference I've ever heard, where there really were no discernible words. Everything was just bleep.
Yeah.
It was brilliant.
Yeah, it was great. Tommy was a work of art. He really was.
Didn't Brian Price let out a lot of expletives for the Reds manager?
Yeah, but who knows Brian Price? We know him here in Marin because he's from Marin. But Tommy Lasorda.
There's no shortage, and it's sort of sad that really in the Mayweather press carnival that they're having all around the world, it's guys F-bombing. That's not exactly the greatest example for young people. Like, oh yeah, that's cool, we can say that. Well, no, it isn't.
Yeah. Same thing with like comedians when they do it to get a laugh, but like every other word is that, and it's like, really? I mean, come on, you got to be kind of thinking on your feet.
I come from the days of stand-up comedian, like Woody Allen and Billy Crystal and others who can actually tell stories, make you laugh.
Henny Youngman.
Yeah, this whole thing recently with Mayweather and that W.
It wasn't the talkie then.
Yeah, I'm just teasing you, Andy.
And didn't you find? I understand. They have to promote these events, but didn't you find this? It was like a tour of 4 cities, and every night I would turn on the TV and I would think I was watching a replay, but then I realized no, these guys are dressed differently. And it was Mayweather and this guy, the Ultimate Fighter, Conor McGregor, and they spend half an hour insulting each other using F-bombs, and all these people are watching and they're laughing and clapping. And I was thinking, what is this? Some kind of weird reality show from another world?
Well, that's what it is. I mean, people know that this is an incredible hype. Some are hoping that within the first 30 seconds, Floyd knocks him, back to the UK, and others are hoping that Conor chokes Floyd out within 30 seconds.
Well, wait a minute. Are they going to play? Are they going to box
They're
only?
Yeah.
So then, how is he going to choke him out?
I think they're going to box only, isn't it, Andy? Or is it going to be rules?
Already started tour for the rematch. What they're talking about.
Well, no, I guess I'm wondering, does each one play by his own sport?
I think they're supposed to box.
I would think just boxing.
Yeah.
Because what is
I believe you're correct.
Yeah.
The Marquise rules of boxing, which is why people say Conor has no shot. But again, I think they're already figuring out, all right, how do we rematch?
Well, maybe he'll pull a Mike Tyson and bite the ear.
Yeah. Mayweather is such a strange bird, though. This does not surprise me that he's indulging in something like this late in his career. It's kind of sad. He's a very strange dude.
Was he 40?
He is 40, but he knows how to market himself, I guess. Andy, I don't know. What's your reflection on this guy? Because he has an unusual way of promoting himself, but it seems to resonate with the boxing community.
Well, I think we would all do things that are viewed as a bit strange if somebody said, Edward or Bruce, here's what I'd like you to do in your next show, and I'll pay you $50 million
thing.
You may decide to take a different view of actually asking questions, taking answers, and speaking in full sense.
You know, it's interesting.
We live in a world of super hype, and I think that is one of the tremendous advantages of all sport. That it doesn't matter what you say is going to happen, you still have to go there and watch it happen.
Yeah.
And just in the Bay Area alone, if 5 years ago you said the Golden State Warriors would be the #1 team in professional sports in the United States, people would go, "Oh, sure, absolutely." Or that the Niners this year would be trying to, disinfect 2-14 records from last year. Oh, yeah, right.
Or the Giants coming out of what are they, 31 games behind or something?
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's amazing how
where
quickly
people still love it is as much work as you put into it as a fan and trying to understand everything. You see something new every day, and I think of Bill King going into the Hall of Fame this weekend.
Well deserved.
I was lucky enough to work with Bill and Lon and other great broadcasters, and Bill should have been in 10 years ago, but he's finally in. And the ability to tell stories through sports and have multi-generational interests. Don't tell all these young kids that are playing in Little League playoffs right now that baseball is dead in this country, because it ain't.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the Little League World Series, watching that on TV. I think it's really exciting. But, why do they, like guys like Bill King, why do they wait till after the guy's dead?
Well, I mean, they could have done it when he was still.
Yeah.
Not that many broadcasters, I don't think are inducted until or after.
Bruce, you knew Bill.
Yeah.
And I just take it, and I've been able to, help in, the great job that Ken Korak and his daughter Kathleen have done, and, they're in Cooperstown this weekend. But Bill was a local gem. He was not a national gem. And arguably, Bill King was the greatest three-sport broadcaster of all time.
Yeah.
And when he was ours, he was the Bay Area, and when he had opportunities to go to New York and other places, and they said, "Bill, you got to cut off that sort of devilish, mustache and goatee," Bill would give them some answer in Russian or something, and that was it. So I think definitely it was, hey, San Francisco area, nobody there could be worthy of the Eastern Defeat Hall of Fame.
Well, think about this. Bill King, 26 or 27 years behind the mic of the Raiders, 25 with the A's, and 20 with the Warriors. And these were all kind of overran each other. And I don't know how many listeners out there are really tied into like a local play-by-play guy. But outside of Lon Simmons and maybe a little bit of Russ Hodges and Hank Greenwald, I don't think anybody even approached Bill King here in the Bay Area. Do you? I mean, there was just something unique, not only about his style, but just the fact that he had this incredible body of work that lasted for almost 5 decades.
I've been lucky enough to do some interviews on Bill. I'm doing one this afternoon with a Bay Area radio station. And what we're trying to do, as you said, it's long past the time that Bill should have gone in, but he is going in. And there are those that know Bill, better than anybody that say, when you think about it, he was a better football broadcaster than he was a baseball broadcaster. And he doesn't have the Pete Rozelle Award, which is the Football Hall of Fame's honor for broadcasters. And then you go, wait a second. He's a much better basketball broadcaster than he was a football or baseball broadcaster. Yeah. And the Basketball Hall of Fame, I think it's actually called the Kurt Dowdy Award. He hasn't been honored with that. So there's a number of us that are doing whatever we can behind the scenes to say, wait a second. If he is going into the Baseball Hall of Fame, why don't you look at and listen to, the Ghost of the Post, and why don't you listen to his rating of NBA officials, but the rapid-fire nature. There was no better storyteller, there was no better broadcaster, than Bill King, and he should be in all three.
I agree.
The ultimate triple threat.
It's still fun to listen to his old tapes of the Warriors back in the 60s and early 70s, which I have, and it's amazing the attention to detail, the way the pass is thrown, how a defender is playing off his the guy he's guarding. You know what's happening on the other side of the court.
You wouldn't have to watch it on TV.
You wouldn't have to.
Yeah.
You didn't have to. And then you had to treat Bill simulcast, so he did his radio play-by-play with the television, which was wonderful. You just sat back. You felt like you were in your own private theater, getting the complete, coverage. Yeah, you're right, Andy. I mean, it's hard to believe Bill King's been gone for 12 years, and I'm glad we were able to give him a little
And the
attention.
other point is that today there's so much media, and that's not saying that people who are doing any level of broadcasting, but there's so many more voices out there that sort of take the environment and make it more complex, just like our daily lives. But if you took 10 or 15 or 20 years ago, and I'm not saying that was better, but you knew who the broadcasters were for your team, no matter where it was in the country. And now, if you look at any metropolitan area in terms of people that are talking on behalf of your team or college, it could be 20, 30, 40. And it's sort of like Tower of Babel in many instances, and not this clear, incredible voice that you have of, the Vin Scullys and the Bill Kings and the Kurt Dowdys, etc.
Oh, Andy, stay with us. We're going to cut to another break. When I come back, I do want to ask. Don't let me forget this. I want to ask about how all these people can, because you mentioned this before, sell all of these season tickets, and there's so many people doing it. I want to ask you about that when we get back. Okay. Now this is an easy one, you guys. But again, don't answer yet. What Major League Baseball player went with the nickname "Human Vacuum Cleaner"?
Oh.
That's an easy one. Okay. Even I know that one.
You know that one, huh?
Stay with us. Sports Econ.
Who was it?
We'll
Who
be
was
right
it?
back. I'm going to have to throw one softball.
You know something? I
question
don't
in
know
there.
who that is. I have never heard that.
Yes, you have.
I think I do. Should I wait?
Yeah,
Yeah,
why don't you
wait.
answer it? I have no idea. Seriously, I vaguely remember.
You'll know. You'll go, oh yeah.
I'm going to guess, but I won't say who it is. I'm just going to throw at it.
All right. Let's see.
Andy, where are you right now? Down the peninsula?
Los Altos.
Oh, okay.
The main streets of Los
The
Altos.
mean, must be a beautiful day down there because it's like 82 up here in Santa Fe.
Yeah, it's those people in the middle where the fog is coming over the bridge.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's always sunny. Well, actually, sunny might not be in Oakland too long, but yeah.
Yeah.
So.
All
A
right.
couple of Sundays ago, even I were on the motorcycle, and man, it was hot. It was 100 degrees.
Yeah.
It was a little too hot to be
Supposed to be
on the
hot this weekend again.
motorcycle.
Yeah.
Goodness, that's
I
hot.
mean, if you look at microclimate, there's no better definition. I had to go to a meeting in Reno a few weeks
Oh
ago.
yeah.
And as I came back, the temperature hovered 106.
Oh.
And when I drove past the Gilman exit in Berkeley, it was 68.
Yeah. I love it. I love it.
Crazy. Okay, here we go, guys. Welcome back to That's all, folks. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, the guy with the stutter. And that's Bruce McGowan over there and our special guest, Andy Dolich. Here was our second trivia question. What Major League Baseball player went by the nickname Human Vacuum Cleaner?
I'm going to let Andy
Andy?
take a stab at that one.
So, if it had anything to do with eating, I'd say Pablo. I'll move past that, and my guess will be Brooks Robinson.
That's right.
I was going to say Brooks Robinson, but I wasn't sure.
I
Yeah.
thought that was an easy one for you.
Yeah,
Sure.
do you remember him being called that? I vaguely
Yeah,
remember.
absolutely.
Okay.
After
Yeah. 1970 World Series.
1970 World Series.
Yeah, he made like 3 great plays against the Cincinnati
He
Reds.
was
on one ball. Yeah.
so completely smooth. You look at certain players and you go, well, he didn't have the athleticism of the guys of today, and he'd probably tell you he didn't. But boy, when you started thinking about, do I ever remember a ball getting past Brooks Robinson?
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
No. Funny, I interviewed him once. He was doing some broadcasting with the Orioles.
Yeah.
This is back in the late 80s, early 90s. And, very courtly Southern gentleman, very, very friendly and nice. And he and Frank Robinson were opposite ends of the spectrum. Frank was the tough guy from the mean streets of Oakland who was always challenging you. And yet those two guys apparently, one from the South and one from the inner city of Oakland, got along great.
Well, they
when
had
were
the
in
same
Boston.
last name.
They had the great same last name, and they played on a great team. And Frank always used to talk. He always used to say Brooks Robinson was his model for the player that he wanted his players to be, because the way he carried
Brooks
himself.
was a few years older, I guess. He played earlier.
Yeah, actually, they were about the same age. I believe they were both born in 33 or 34, and they're both still around.
Sort of like sort of like we reached in Jackie Robinson.
Yeah.
A little bit later.
Yeah, it was interesting though, because Frank, I remember Frank. If you remember, you were working with the A's when Frank was with the Giants. I remember Frank used to challenge people. One night, Monty Stickles, who was a former 49er, came in and they got into a big argument, and it was kind of uncomfortable to say the least. We thought a fight was going to break out, but Frank was one of those guys. I imagine, Andy, in your working with all of these teams, that you probably ran into some interesting characters and got to know some interesting athletes. Can you relate a little story or two about some of the more unusual things you saw that are, it's okay to tell tales out of school now. It's 40 years later.
I got to know Frank a bit, and he just had that outward appearance like, hey, you don't want to be getting across Frank.
Mm-mm.
But when you got to know him outside of that, nicest person in the world.
Great guy.
People have a persona. I was lucky enough to work with Billy Martin when we sort of created the whole Billy Ball thing and talk about a mega personality, and I would laugh. A lot of the stuff never got into the papers. Billy would be in these dust-ups, and, Roy Eisenhart, Wally Haas. I was like, Billy, what happened? Well, it was 3 a.m. Okay, guilty.
What was Billy like to deal with on a regular basis, though? Did he, at that point in his career, he was kind of late in his career, did he sort of realize that, hey, I'm kind of a caricature of myself, so I'll let the A's have some fun and I'll go along with it?
Mercurial, at least in my, I wasn't hanging with him, but we used, you remember this,
yeah.
We used Billy in all of our commercials. He was great to deal with once he decided to do it. And, I'd have to go to Mickey Moravito and Steve Vucinich and make sure it was right. Mark Fowler and Lee Walls, all those people around him, his posse. But he got it, and Billy had that sort of twinkle in his eye, like, don't believe all of this stuff that you're reading and seeing. But he had a hair-trigger temper.
Oh, yeah.
I was lucky enough to work with U.B. Brown at the Grizzlies and Jerry West, two mega personalities. And, you see people in the bright lights, and then you also see them when the lights are off. And in many instances, they do have multiple personas. They understand that they're part of a much greater show in terms of the media, fan bases, TV. And, unfortunately, I think in today's world, the word secret or confidential should be taken out of our language because it doesn't exist.
That's for sure.
There is
except on the internet and social media.
Right. And many of the people will send out their own news for them and go, well, that was a secret. Well, please send it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, Andy, I wanted to, before we went to break, I was reminding everybody, I wanted to ask you the question. You said earlier in the show about how there was like 100 people selling season tickets.
Right.
I mean, I'm wondering how that happens. Where do they just start pounding the pavement, and then how do they know when they're all sold out?
Well, again, we always think about attendance and sellouts, and there are very few teams that are truly, truly sold out. You absolutely positively cannot buy a ticket, especially with dynamic pricing in the secondary market. That doesn't really exist anymore. And so with metrics and analytics and listings and the fact that everybody's information is out there, I started out with 3x5 cards. That's pretty sophisticated, right? In terms of doing my research. Now you can buy bases, you can buy plausibilities that somebody, probabilities that somebody is going to buy, and then it becomes a numbers game. So if 20 people are needed to sell 200 new season tickets over a 1 month period, hire 100 and do it in half that time, or do it, so it really is a numbers game. And in a place like Philadelphia, literally, where you have a low fan base and people have walked away from the team, you've got to have people banging the phones all the time, or more importantly, working the internet, working in digital media. And when I was involved doing it, you literally could walk into offices. You didn't have to show ID. You could go and knock on the door and say, hi, I'm with this team. I'd like to talk to the boss. And as long as you were charming to the assistant out front, you could usually get in because you were talking about sports.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, I imagine that all changed pretty rapidly in the 1980s, about that time, or mid to late 80s, was it, Andy, when things became sort of revolutionized in sports marketing and all that?
Yeah, I mean, I sort of laugh on the fact that you could talk to people of the days before ESPN. And I go, well, there was never any days before ESPN. Well, yes, there was.
Oh, yes,
I
there
would
was.
say
Yeah.
we saw it happen, with us in the early 80s with the A's, and we saw that Charlie Finley in the late 70s did nothing. And not that we were all that different, but we at least took a proactive sense, and that helped draw 3 times as many people as the team ever did before that.
Yeah.
And
asking for the order.
And what is season? I know it's obviously going to be depends on where you sit, but what comparing season tickets for the 76ers as compared to other teams? You know, you see it's the fan base. You said A is not really there. The team is really not that good. What do season tickets go for there?
Well, they go for less than $15,000 a ticket on the membership base that the Warriors are now talking about and moving to Chase Center. The Warriors, they're naming it something differently as a membership, but it's still a seat license. The Sixers don't have seat licenses, so probably they're 50% of what or less of what the Warriors are costing. But the Sixers are on the way up. I mean, I'm beating them. They've got some great players. Sam Hinkie, who got fired, basically for creating a roadmap. That roadmap is starting to make sense, and the Sixers, played much better last year and will play better, this year. So once you develop that demand, which the Warriors have, because they only have to sell, 10,000 season tickets as opposed to a football team that has to sell 40 or 50,000. Whole different situation.
Well, I knew that Philadelphia didn't have a good team when I was there last year, and I had a couple of tickets sitting on my dashboard. My car got broken into. When I came back, there were 2 more tickets.
All right,
I like that. That's good. That's a good one.
Sorry. I was trying to keep a straight face, and Bruce was getting really.
I was getting into the story. Yeah. What kind of crowds did you guys have the year that the Sixers won only 9 games, Andy? Did you get any over 10?
We were doing, anywhere from 5,000 to 8,000 a game.
That many though? That's
in a 17,000.
But still, I mean, it's 5,000 to 8,000 for a team that's that bad in those years.
Well, because they wanted to see the other team.
Yeah, that's
right?
true. I mean, that's what basically the Warriors never drew more than 5,800 a game until they won the championship in 74-75.
Right, and when we were playing the Knicks or somebody that people could drive to, we had 14 or so of that.
Sure.
People couldn't get into MSG, the great Knicks teams of those times.
So when
it all changes pretty quickly.
So wait a minute. So when the Philadelphia Sixers won a game back then, it was sort of like when the Washington Generals beat the Harlem Globetrotters, right?
So what would you guys do? I mean, would the players sort of not know what to do? I mean, this is not normal. They did it. They must.
Every player got a. We had Dave Zinkoff, a very famous announcer.
Oh, the PA announcer, yeah.
Yeah, and he would deliver. No kidding. He would deliver a foremost kosher salami to every player.
I love it. A foremost kosher salami. Now, if that isn't a good, can you imagine players? Yeah. Hey, by the way, you're going to get a reward of a kosher salami delivered to you. Players would probably look at you cockeyed and say, "Get out of here before I call the fight squad."
We will also have that as our gift for our halftime shootout.
Yeah.
Hey, that was the 1970s. They should have given them lava lamps.
Andy, I think we're losing I think we're
Andy.
losing your signal.
But actually, you know what? We're
wrapping up anyway.
We're kind of wrapping up anyway. But Andy Dolich, thank you so much again for entertaining us with all those great stories and information.
Gentlemen, it's always great, and we can always talk about the Sixers, and when they meet the Warriors in the NBA championship, we'll talk again.
That's right. A repeat of 1967, Wilt against Nate.
There you go.
Yeah. Rick Barry and, of course, Hal Greer. Yeah, that was a great series. That was the first.
Fun talking sports with you.
Great catching up with you again, Andy.
Thanks, Andy.
Take care. Andy is not only a great guy, but he's also somebody who really understands, you know, the business of marketing. But more than that, he is into the minutia and the history and the personalities, and I think that's what makes him unique and special, and also very successful at what he does. And he was mentioning he teaches a course in sports marketing, and you know, sports marketing as a topic doesn't sound really. It sounds intriguing, but to the average person, what does that mean? He makes it fun. I've listened to some of his lectures. And
is it a 3-week class or something?
It's a class that you can take as part of the business
for a whole
semester at the business school at the University of Stanford University.
Really?
He just teaches there as a guest. I guess they call him a guest professor. He does it occasionally. He doesn't do it all the time. But I saw a little clip from one of his lectures, and I was like, yeah. You know, Andy would have been a great talk show host. He could have done what we're doing right here, and probably done it even better. So there you go. But I don't think radio is his passion.
What?
What?
Radio is everybody's passion.
Of course, it's my passion.
Well, yeah, he does it.
Because I like to talk. My wife always used to tease me. She goes, I know why you got into radio, because you love the sound of your own voice. I don't love the sound of my own voice because I don't listen to it. I'm always talking on the radio. I don't have time to listen. Yeah, anyway.
Oh, you got to love those boys.
Oh, yeah. And they keep you, you know, happy wife, happy life.
That's it. Can't live with them. Can't live with them.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, third and final trivia question. What Major League Baseball player said, growing old is just a helpless hurt?
That's a good one.
You'll know the player.
Okay.
You ever heard that one, though?
Never heard that one.
I had never...
growing old is just a helpless hurt.
Yeah.
I'll remember that when I wake up tomorrow.
Yes, you will.
Yeah.
All right. So that's our question. Email Edward at sportsecon101.com. The answer to that question. We'll see if you know the answer. Again, here's the question again. Growing old is just a helpless hurt. What baseball player said that? All right.
Baseball.
And don't touch that dial, because Sports Econ 101 will be right back. Yeah, we're almost done here.
Yeah, we got Andy on for the full time. It's a good thing Andy sent me a text at 11 o'clock, and he goes, we still doing our show at 11:30? I'm going, holy shit, I'm sitting out there on the back porch reading the paper and having a cup of coffee, and I just completely spaced out that we were doing 11:30 this morning.
Good thing you weren't. Actually, it was supposed to be 11, but that's okay.
Was it? Oh, yeah. He said 11:30, so it actually worked out for the best. And we got him for the whole show.
Yeah.
And he was great.
And we should...
next week. When's next week?
Yeah, that's. I want to look at our calendars.
Yeah.
August is a little.
Next week I'll be around. I'll be around all the next Thursdays. We're taking a vacation this weekend, and then 2 weekends from this weekend we're taking another one. But it's like a Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday both times. So no interference with the schedule.
Okay. So what I've got going on here is.
Yeah, he just said thanks for the time today.
Oh, okay.
I'll send him an email there.
Okay, so yeah, August 3rd is next week, and that'll be fine.
Okay. 1:30? Or would you rather do it? You like it doing it in the morning? I don't want to do it in the morning. Because now that Mo is out of school, it's actually better for me to do it in the morning.
If you want, yeah, actually, let me just double check here. Okay, so yeah, let's look at this here.
11 o'clock a good time?
Works for me.
Let's do 11 o'clock. I'll send myself a text right now. 11 a.m. Oh, it's to Bruce. It's so much fun sending yourself a text. Actually, I sent myself an email. Okay.
Okay, and then...
Next Thursday.
Okay, and then can we record on Monday the 7th?
I will be, let's see, what is next week? Is the 1st? What is Monday?
Monday is the 31st.
Tuesday is
Is the 1st.
Yeah, I'll be around.
Okay, so then let's do 11 a.m.
And 11 a.m.
on the 7th.
On the 7th, which is a Tuesday.
Oh, Monday.
Monday the 7th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here.
Sounds good. 7
Okay. And then we can go on the 17th.
Okay, 17th.
Which is a Thursday. You want to do 11?
That's a Thursday. Yeah, let's do the 17th. Do it at 11. That sounds good.
Do 11 a.m.
We'll do it
17th. Okay.
11 a.m.
All right, and then we can do on the 24th. You can also do 11 a.m. if you want.
Yeah, it's fine. Let's just 24th.
That's that's Thursday.
Okay, that should take us.
All right, and then
24th. Then we're into September.
and then
Yes, I'll just put that.
okay.
Let us in.
All right, and then can we record on? Let's see here. Can we record on Monday the 28th?
Yeah, go ahead. Just send me an email on it because I got so much stuff here. I'm just gonna.
So that's a Monday.
Let's see. I'll be done.
All right. Hi, Andy. Thanks again for being our guest today.
Four o'clock.
Okay, so that's that. And I'm gonna send you a. You want me to text it to you? You said.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll just text you that one.
Yeah.
Okay. 11 a.m. August. Okay. Excellent. All right, let's.
My wife
Finish
just
this
keeps
bad boy off?
texting me. Stop texting me. I'm sending her a text that'll take care of it.
Were you saying it too?
My wife just texting me nonstop. Oh, you sent it too. That's okay.
Well, that
That's good. I'm glad you did. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was a good show. Yeah.
That's good.
Sorry about that. I just the last couple of days that Eduardo Nunez thing, I was out at the game for that, and because Bumgarner was pitching, and so it was quite a fun story to cover. You know, I was running downstairs and getting reaction and getting back to the station and leaving stuff, and worked out really well. Those are the kind of that's what I really like about my job when I get to go out and cover something like that. You know?
It was fun seeing you up there, Bruce.
Yeah. Great seat. That's a great spot. That's our regular
yeah.
spot. That's our regular spot. That's where we've been sitting for 18 years.
Yeah, you had a good one there.
Nice
We went
spot.
to the Gotham Club. That was very nice.
Isn't that nice?
And it's I was very pleasantly surprised that they don't gouge you at that either.
No, they don't. I mean, it's expensive, but it's not ridiculous.
No, it wasn't ridiculous at all.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. Third and final trivia question. I think we stumped Bruce on this one. What Major League Baseball player said growing old is just a helpless hurt?
Got to be some player who played well into their 40s, but
Yeah.
Hall of Famer?
Yes. And
recent?
Not
50s? 50s
50s
and 60s?
50s, 60s.
I'm stumped.
Come on, who's one of your favorite players?
Willie Mays.
Yes.
Willie Mays
Willie
said that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny about Willie. Willie is doing pretty well. He's 86 years old. He's had some issues with his vision, but other than his vision, he's doing pretty well. He's legally blind. He can see, but he just has to have somebody drive him around. But he is amazing. I went up to him once and I said, "What's the secret to a long and healthy life?" He stood up real straight, perfect posture. He goes, "I've always been healthy." It's like, I know how to stay healthy. You don't even need to ask me that question. And that's true. Willie was very particular about his diet. He never smoked, he never drank. One time, they gave him a swig of champagne after the Giants won the pennant in '62. He took a swig and threw up, and then he laughed and he said, "I've never had a drink of alcohol in my life. That was my first, and that was his last drink. He never had one
For all
before."
you younger players out there,
Yeah.
take it from
But
men.
they did say that Willie did the red juice, so but that was probably a performance enhancing, very crude one back in the day. Probably something to kind of get you hyped up.
Yeah, vitamin B shot type.
Yeah, well, he'd take a little bottle of it. Players used to take it
gotcha.
back there. Orlando Cepeda told me about it. Says a lot of players used it. It was just a different concoction.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
All right, here's our thoughts for the day. Jim Courier said, sportsmanship for me is when a guy walks off the court and you really can't tell whether he won or lost, when he carries himself with pride either way.
Nice. I like that. Jim Courier was a classy guy. Great American tennis player, too. One of the best. Now you think about him and Sampras and McEnroe and Jimmy Connors. We've had some great ones.
We've definitely have some. Okay. And Jack Dempsey said, a champion is someone who gets up when he can.
That's Jack Dempsey
Dempsey all over, exactly.
His record, too, is never going to be touched. Now that Tiger Woods is out of contention for that. I mean, nobody's ever going to touch Jack Nicklaus.
No, Jack Dempsey.
Oh, Jack Dempsey said
yeah.
that.
All right.
Wow.
Tune in next week to Sports Econ 101.
Got my jacks wrong there.
We're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective and asking more sports trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week.
Good night, America.
So long. I was wondering about okay, Tiger Woods and a boxing.
Woods.
Okay.
Yeah, Tiger Woods boxing. Wow.